If you're into horror stories, hit that subscribe button on my channel. I'm bringing you the scariest and most spine-chilling stories in the near future, so stay tuned. Today, I'll share something personal, a real story from my life. When this incident happened, I was in 9th grade and pretty young. My friends and I had this habit of sneaking off to a deserted area, about a kilometer away from the city. Why? To smoke. It was just for fun back then, but we couldn't risk doing it in our own area because our families were well known and anyone could snitch on us. So our little group of five, me, my two cousins, and two best friends, made it a routine to hang out there for a couple of hours each night. One night started off just like any other. We reached our usual spot, smoked, laughed, and had fun. But as we were about to leave, one of my cousins suddenly stood up, staggered, and collapsed. At first, we thought he was joking, pulling some silly prank. But when he didn't respond, after several minutes of shaking and calling his name, we got worried. One of my friends suggested going for help, but I stopped him. What if he wakes up in a minute? If we bring someone here, our families will find out about our smoking, I said. I decided to check his pulse, hoping to reassure everyone. But the moment I touched him, a chilling thing happened. 3 voices emerged from his still body. The voices were distinct. One female to male. They said, "You cannot take him with you. He is ours now. Our daughter likes him." I swear, at that moment my heart dropped to my stomach. We were petrified. My cousin was unconscious, yet these voices were coming out of him. 2 of my friends bolted, running as fast as they could. But I managed to stop the others, worried they'd raise an alarm back home. "Stay calm," I told them. "Just recite Bible verses and rub his palms. He'll be okay." We kept at it for 15 minutes. His body felt unnaturally heavy, but eventually he started to lighten up. Then he woke up, confused, and asked, "Why are we still here? What's going on?" We made him promise not to tell anyone, and we all agreed to keep the incident a secret. A few days later, though, the same thing happened to him at home, and this time his family noticed. They consulted a priest from a nearby church, a wise and experienced man who took the situation very seriously. After his intervention, my cousin finally got better. This story takes place when my friends and I visited New York for the first time. We were excited to explore the city and stayed with a relative who showed us around. After a long day of sightseeing, he took us to a house where we were to spend the night. The house was in a deserted area and had been abandoned for years. My relative had cleaned it up for us, but before leaving, he said something strange. "If you need anything at night, don't go outside. Just call me." That sentence alone sent shivers down our spines. At around midnight, we heard someone or something jump onto the roof. One of my friends went to check but found nothing. When he came back down, we all heard faint footsteps above us, followed by a woman's voice softly singing. This time I went to check with another friend. On the roof, we saw her shadowy figure of a woman in black, humming a haunting tune. When she turned, we saw her face, or what was left of it. She had no eyes, and her face was half burned. My friend screamed and ran downstairs, while I stumbled and fell, injuring myself badly. Our relative rushed us to the hospital and later explained that the house was known to be haunted by a witch. "She never harms anyone," he said, but we weren't willing to take any more chances and left New York the very next day. Her image is still burned into my memory. Growing up, my family would visit my grandmother once a month. Her house was unique. It sat in the middle of a cemetery. Every window opened to a view of tombstones, and at night, strange sounds echoed from all directions. One night I woke up thirsty and went to the kitchen for water. As I made my way back to bed, I heard a low, guttural voice coming from the kitchen. I couldn't make out what it was saying, but fear gripped me, and I ran to my uncle, who was asleep in the same room. I woke him and told him everything, but he brushed it off. To calm me down, he opened the window that faced the cemetery, even though I begged him not to. He looked outside, froze for a moment, and then quietly shut the window. When he turned back to me, something was off. His face looked different, as if it wasn't entirely his. I hid under my blanket, terrified. Minutes later, I peeked out and saw the most horrifying sight. My uncle was scratching his face violently with his own nails, drawing blood. I screamed and fainted. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. My uncle had been taken to the ICU and stayed there for 5 days. After he recovered, my family decided to move him to a hostel. They found a new house. Thankfully, he's doing fine now, but I'll never forget that night. If these stories sent chills down your spine, do me a favor, subscribe to my channel and help me reach 100 subscribers. Your support means the world to me.